Kim Ki-woo is a young man who lives in the slums along with his father, Kim Ki-taek, mother, Kim Chung-suk, and sister, Kim Ki-jung. The family lives in an underground apartment where they deal with issues like stealing their neighbor's Wi-Fi to dealing with fumigation, terrible sewage leaks, and witnessing men urinating in the alley above their home. They work on low-paying wages to take care of their expenses. One day, Min-hyuk, an old friend of Ki-woo, pays the family a visit. He brings a rare rock from his grandfather's collection, believed to possess the power to attract wealth and prosperity. He gives the rock to the family as a gift token. Later, the two friends talk when Min-hyuk discloses that he has been tutoring the wealthy family's teenage daughter, but as he's leaving for overseas studies, he entrusts Ki-woo with the task. Min-hyuk is in love with the daughter and fears other university students might go for her attention. He trusts Ki-woo as a guardian, ensuring her well-being until he can propose to her after graduation. Despite Ki-woo's lack of formal qualifications due to not attending college, Min-hyuk vouches for him. Using her exceptional skills in design programs and Ki-jung fabricates fake documents to forge Ki-woo as a university student. The family wouldn't be looking that deep into the documents anyways, since Min-hyuk has assured them that his replacement can be trusted. Ki-woo goes for the interview at the Park's family house, which is located in the most expensive part of the city. The housekeeper, Guk Moon-gwang, invites him in and shows him around. He then meets Choi Yeon-gayo, also known as Mrs. Park, who takes his interview for the tutoring job. As expected, she barely glances at the documents and relies on Min-hyuk's statement. However, she intends to attend the first lesson to assess Ki-woo's character. Ki-woo meets the daughter Da-hai and helps her with the lesson. Impressed by what she observed, Mrs. Park hires Ki-woo and offers him a generous salary. After the first session, Ki-woo meets Mrs. Park's son, Da-song. Ki-woo learns that he likes to do art when an idea clicks his mind. Mrs. Park reveals that she needs a new art instructor when Ki-woo suggests his cousin and ex-classmate, a highly qualified art therapist. In reality, he is planning on getting his sister Ki-jung hired. The following day, Ki-jung appears for an interview as Jessica, an extremely well-educated teacher with a degree from a university in Illinois, Chicago. In actuality, Ki-jung lacks any expertise but has skimmed through online materials and read about art therapy and psychology. While Mrs. Park talks to her and interviews her, Ki-woo teaches Dae upstairs in her room. Dae-hee admits feeling jealous of Ki-woo's friendship with the art teacher. Ki-woo assures her that his intentions with Jessica are not romantic, which leads to a kiss between them. Ki-jung asks Mrs. Park to let her conduct Da-song's first lesson alone. After the class, Mrs. Park sees Dae-song's behavior has improved in just one lesson. Ki-jung claims to have identified signs of trauma in Da-song's artwork, and she asks the mother about any past traumatic experiences. Mrs. Park recounts an incident from Dae-song's first-grade days. Convinced that her son needs art therapy, Mrs. Park hires Ki-jung at an attractive salary later on that same day. Ki-jung meets the head of the Park family, Park Dong-ik. Mr. Park asks his chauffeur, Yeon, to give the tutor a ride home. Yeon offers to drop her directly to her residence. However, because she has to hide her poor living condition, she can't reveal the slum neighborhood she lives in. Ki-jung requests to be dropped off at the train station. During this journey, Ki-jung comes up with a plan and secretly places her underwear in the car, intending to get the driver fired. Later, Mr. Park discovers the underwear in his car and talks to his wife about it. They assume that Yeon has been engaging in romantic encounters with women in his car. After the class, Mrs. Park talks to Ki-jung and reveals that they are planning to dismiss Yeon to avoid scandals. Ki-jung intervenes and shares her opinion that senior employees are more experienced and hence more trustworthy for such jobs. She then suggests her uncle's former driver. She is actually talking about her father, Ki-taek, who had previously worked as a chauffeur in his younger days. The next day, Ki Taek shows up at Mr. Park's office for an interview and takes him on a drive later as a test. During the ride, Mr. Park is impressed with Ki Taek's manners and his knowledge of the city, allowing him to navigate without using any GPS. Mr. Park hires him for the job. The final role is of the housekeeper, Moon Gwang, who is a long-trusted woman in the family. She's been working at the house even before the Park family moved in, back when the previous owner, an unusual architect, lived there. To make her lose her job, the Kims take advantage of her allergy to peaches. This leads to her having allergic reactions. They then convince Mrs. Park that she's seriously and highly contagious, making it impossible for her to be around their son. Mrs. Park feels heartbroken to fire Moon Gwang, but she prioritizes her son's health first. Similarly, the last member of the family, Mrs. Kim, takes over the position through the chain of recommendations. The Kim family experiences a significant increase in their income. When the Park family decides to go camping for Dae-sung's birthday weekend, the Kims see a chance to stay in the expansive Park house. They enjoy the evening by eating, drinking, and creating a mess in the house. Just as they settle in, the doorbell rings. It's Moon Gwang, who claims to have forgotten something in the basement from when she was let go in a hurry. While her family hides, Chung-suk allows her in. When Moon Gwang takes a long time downstairs, Chung-suk decides to investigate. She discovers a hidden door leading to an underground bunker that the architect and previous homeowner had created. Moon Gwang's husband, Oh Jeon-se, has been hiding from loan sharks, living in the bunker for years. Moon Gwang helped him move there when the previous owner vacated the house, and it was waiting to be sold. The Parks remained oblivious to the existence of the bunker. Moon Gwang would sneak in food for her husband when the Parks weren't around. The old housekeeper says she arrived today to speak with Chung-suk privately. She asks her for permission to let her husband live in the basement. She even offers to pay her for bringing him food. Right then, her family accidentally slips on the stairs while trying to eavesdrop. Moon Gwang acts swiftly, recording the scene on her phone, capturing the moment they use family names to refer to each other. This gives Moon Gwang and her husband leverage over the situation. They threaten to expose the Kim's fraud to the Parks. A fight ensues, and the Kim family manages to gain control over the couple, getting them inside the hidden bunker. However, a call from the Park family interrupts the chaos. They have canceled their camping trip due to rain and are returning home in just 8 minutes. The Kims hurriedly attempt to clean up the mess and keep the other couple hidden in the basement. They do a decent enough job that the rest of the family could hide. Ki-woo hides in Da-hai's room, while the others hide under a table in the living room. As Mrs. Kim serves dinner to the Parks, Moon Gwang manages to escape from the basement and run upstairs. In time, Mrs. Kim pushes her back down the stairs, leading to Moon Gwang, hitting her head and suffering a serious injury. Later, when Mrs. Park is eating the dinner, she reveals that her son saw a ghost in the basement in first grade, which traumatized him forever. Moon Gwang and Jeon-se are successfully trapped in the bunker. Mr. and Mrs. Park decide to sleep in the living room to watch over Dae-sung, who's camping in the backyard. This forces the Kims to huddle beneath the table, staying still all night. The Parks talk about Mr. Kim's bad smell and later engage in an intimate activity. Finally, in the middle of the night, the Kims manage to escape. Upon returning home, they discover their apartment flooded with rain and sewage. Ki-woo quickly grabs the rock, and the family are forced to spend the night in a shelter camp. The following day, Mrs. Park throws a celebration for Dae-sung. The Kim family, carrying out their roles as employees, receive invitations and must pretend to be unaware of the 2 people locked in the bunker beneath the house. Ki-woo takes the rock down into the bunker, where he finds Moon Gwang has passed away. Jeon-se ambushes him, striking him on the head with the rock. He then joins the party, where he fatally stabs Ki-jung in the chest. The party transforms into a scene of horror. Da Song experiences a seizure, realizing that the ghost he had seen in the house earlier was Jun Se. During chaos, Mr. Park yells at his driver, Mr. Kim, who is helping his daughter, Ki Jung. He asks for the car keys to take his son to the hospital. The keys land near Jun Se, who is attacking Mrs. Kim. She ultimately manages to eliminate him by using a meat skewer as a weapon. Mr. Park gets the keys, but expresses disgust due to Mr. Kim's smell. This triggers the driver, who loses control and stabs Mr. Park, killing him there. Mrs. Park faints, and as Mr. Kim flees, the situation becomes increasingly chaotic. Kai Wu wakes up in the hospital after being in a deep sleep for weeks. He learns that both he and Mrs. Kim are on probation and that his sister Ki Jung has passed away. Mr. Kim is on a run and hasn't been found by the police, as he is to be arrested for killing Mr. Park. Ki Wu looks at the house where the Parks used to live and notices the lights flickering there. By interpreting the flickering as Morse code, Ki Wu figures out that Mr. Kim is causing the lights to flicker from the bunker where he's now living. He manages to sneak upstairs to get food from the new owners. Ki Wu writes a letter to his father, promising that he'll work hard to become rich enough to buy the house back and reunite their family someday. Parasite, released in 2019. Directed by Bong Joon-ho, produced on a budget of approximately $11 million. The wealthy Park family's modernist house was a meticulously designed set built from scratch, which allowed Bong Joon-ho to shoot the film exactly as he envisioned. Director Bong Joon-ho has mentioned that, while the film is very Korean in its setting and characters, the themes of class struggle and inequality are universal, which is one of the reasons for its worldwide resonance. Parasite became the first non-English language film to win the Best Picture award at the Oscars in 2020. It also took home 3 other Oscars: Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best International Feature Film. Please subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next recap.